Now, the BRVM 10 index closed trading on Monday at 213 points. That was down about 0.2%, while the BRVM composite index was down about 0.2% as well to 192 points. Total value traded on that market was 266 million CFA francs, slightly lower than what we usually see. Joining me in the studio to talk us through that market is Alain Saraka. He's an assistant vice president, credit risk management at the AFC. Alain, it's good to have you on our show today.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to start by getting your thoughts on how this market has traded recently. It's been somewhat volatile, up today, down tomorrow, somewhat. But your thoughts about the overall trend this year, at least positive, we've seen it up about 17%, I think.
Yeah, I think that the trend is good. Most of the countries are doing well, and Cote d'Ivoire was one of the leader of this market, and things were bad the last 2 years. So now, since the country is recovering, I think the impact is positive for all other countries in the market. I think you have countries like Senegal, where the market is improving too. You have whole the political issue now, which are solved, and I think that we can expect by the end of the year that things improve again.
Okay. All right. Before we move on to the market and be more specific on companies, I think the big news out of Cote d'Ivoire today is the municipal elections that are coming up later this month. And I want to get your thoughts about how important this is for the politics of Cote d'Ivoire, because clearly we've seen a lot of instability in the political realm in Cote d'Ivoire. Clearly no one wants to see more of that going forward.
Yeah, I think we had one presidential election. The result was a little bit complicated. We had the election for the parliament. It was better, calmer, and this election, municipal election, will come as just to reinforce the feeling that things are getting better, even though we have sometimes some security issues remaining in the west side of Cote d'Ivoire.
Right.
But this will give a signal to foreign investors that things are really improving in the country.
So not much to worry about going forward on that.
Yeah, I think things should go
okay,
well.
Let's bring it back to the market. Quite a few companies releasing, of course, we're in earnings seasons across West Africa these days. SOGB, the agro-industry company, I want to start with that one. Revenues down 17%, net income down about 50%, really on the back of the pressure the company is experiencing because of falling rubber prices. Your thoughts about that company? And I want to really get your views on the fact that dividend yield for that company is about 6%. And given that inflation in Cote d'Ivoire is just over 2%, that sounds like a very attractive yield. But then we're seeing the share price fall back.
Yeah, I think that it's not only for the rubber. I think in general, the soft commodities, there is a problem is that, apparently the global demand is going down, and the offer is going up, so we will have a lag, and the price, the analysts think that the price for the soft commodities in general will come down, and this is for rubber, but for cocoa, coffee, and all the export crops that countries like Cote d'Ivoire sell to get the revenues. And the case of this company is, I think, impacted by the global trend in the soft commodities market. I think they may have some liabilities linked to the fact that during the crisis things were difficult for a lot of big companies in Cote d'Ivoire, so they need time to really improve the profitability. This is why we see that the result.
But the point about the dividend yield, though, your thoughts about why investors, and in fact when we run through to the other results, like the bank results, we're seeing pretty high yields, as high as 7% for some companies as well. Isn't that supposed to be attractive to investors?
Yeah, like I used to say, the case of a BRVM is very specific. Me as an individual, I will use this market, to balance my portfolio. For instance, compensate the very hazardous, securities in my portfolio. It's rather stable most of the time. The companies there are used to pay good dividends to attract the investors, because it's a way. And since you have some political issues in the region, you need to show to investors that you reward correctly to attract them.
Okay,
And
but
I'm
okay,
not
moving
surprised.
back to the results, Bank of Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, dividend per share there was about 3,000 CFA francs, yield of 7%. Bank of Africa, Burkina Faso, dividend of about 6,000 CFA francs as well. Again, we're beginning to see volatility in the share prices. Your thoughts about the dividends that some of the banks in the region are paying?
Uh, I think the banks in West Africa mostly fund the agricultural sector actually, and last year the agricultural sector in Africa performed well. So I think the revenues from the bank and the performance of the banks were good. So this explains the level of dividends that they pay. And for the banks, I don't really have a big concern. The central banks is monitoring the banks very closely and try to avoid. So I think banks in West Africa are rather good investments.
All right, so you're a bit cautious about investing aggressively in this market right now. If we were to pick certain companies, which stocks do you think investors should be focusing on if they're looking to diversify their portfolios and get exposure to this market?
Oh, I would have said the banks, like we just talked. I said even if the agricultural sector sometimes is not the most stable, but Africa so far, West Africa so far, economies are based on agriculture. So it will never have a big crash or collapse on those markets. And oil and gas is not really a strong. Most of the time, listed company there are subsidiaries or big oil and gas major.
What about Sonatel? Sonatel, of course, that's the big one in the region. It's so dominant. Your thoughts about that as an investment?
Yeah, I think Sonatel could be a good investment because Sonatel are a good dividend history, and yeah, the only thing is now they split the shares, and it's more accessible to a larger portion of investors, and I think that for this reason the dividend will be lower than before, but otherwise I think this company is very liquid. The telecom companies in Africa. And Sonatel is a leader in his market in Senegal, which is
okay.
a big francophone economy too. So.
Okay. Lastly, if you wanted to look forward in this market, of course, the first quarter has been good. I think the market was up just under 20%. Going into the second quarter, do you expect the market to add a little to that gain?
I will say yes, but I think we should not forget that African market and especially francophone markets are very linked to the eurozone, and the situation there is not that good. So the problem will be that foreign capitals and funds doesn't come as we expect, and so this can have a small impact on the market. So I think we just should watch and be careful. But otherwise, I think it should. I really think that the performance will be better than Europe, for sure. But
well, I imagine so. Most African markets are better right now, but we'll see how it plays out. Thank you very much, Alain. Alain Saraka is Assistant Vice President at the AFC, giving us his thoughts.